As last fall came early and this March turned out pretty cloudy and cool, we found ourselves craving warmth, sunshine, and a bit of adventure. So when we stumbled across some cheap tickets to Santorini, we didn't think twice, we were in. To make it in time for our early flight, we woke up at 3 a.m., drove to Athens airport, parked in long-term parking, and headed to the terminal to wait. When we arrived, it was still completely dark, but by the time we boarded the plane, the sun was already beginning to rise. The flight from Athens to Santorini is incredibly short. You barely have time to reach cruising altitude before it's already time to descend. It's just about 30 minutes in the air, which is actually less than the time you spend boarding, waiting for takeoff, and then getting off the plane. I only managed to read 3 pages of my Greek-graded reader, but honestly, I wasn't complaining, since flying isn't exactly my favorite thing. When you step outside the airport in Santorini, there are hotel buses waiting to take you to different parts of the island. We hopped on one heading to Fira. The ticket was just $2.20 per person, and about 10 minutes later we were already there. And I have to say, the buses were surprisingly nice. Big, modern, and really comfortable. We arrived in Fira early in the morning. It wasn't even 9 yet, so we got to see the town just waking up. Most cafes and shops were still closed, vendors were putting up their goods, and workers were sweeping and washing the streets, which were still nearly empty with barely any tourists around. Even the sun hadn't climbed high enough yet to light up the western side of the cliffs. Fun fact about the island: though people around the world know it as Santorini, in Greece it is actually called Thira, and the name Santorini comes from the name Venetians gave it, the island of Saint Iran. Over time, the two words merged into one, Santorini. But the true Greek name of the island is Thira, which should not be confused with the name of its capital, Fira. Since we hadn't had time for breakfast and had been up since 3 a.m., by 9 we were absolutely starving and on a mission to find somewhere to eat. That's how we found a cozy little cafe on the main street with a sunny terrace and a tempting breakfast menu. We each ordered eggs and cappuccino, which turned out to be unbelievably good. We soaked up the sunshine, something we had really missed over the winter, and decided to walk all the way to Ia. Of course, there are buses connecting towns across the island, and you can easily get from Fira to Ia quickly and comfortably. But we wanted to experience more of the island, its raw, untamed side. Plus, there is a well-known hiking trail between the two towns, about 7 kilometers long. The route starts with the charming, winding streets of Fira along the edge of the cliff, and then gradually leads into more rugged terrain. You pass all those charming doors and windows, cozy terraces with gorgeous views, luxurious villas with pools, and all those cute planters with all possible varieties of cacti and succulents. Look how awesome they are! I swear they're living their best lives here, basking in the sun. I'm a huge fan of these plants, so I just fell in love with it all. Once you exit the city, the landscape starts to feel almost unreal, with all those black and reddish cliffs towering over the deep blue sea and distant white villages perched on the caldera rim. Just look at those cliffs. It seems no one has ever set foot on them. Seven kilometers might not sound like much, but don't be fooled. There are plenty of ups and downs, and much of the hike is exposed to the sun with very little shade. That's why, in my opinion, spring and fall are the perfect seasons for this kind of adventure. Fewer crowds and none of that intense summer heat. I set off for Ia in a brand new pair of white canvas shoes, and by the end of the hike they were anything but white. The island is volcanic after all. The thin soles didn't help much either, since most of the trail is rocky and uneven. Nevertheless, the hike was gorgeous. Some of the most stunning views open up towards its end, where the path begins to descend into Ia. Originally, we were planning to keep this trip very budget-friendly, just one-day visit with no overnight stay. But then we checked prices for April, and when we saw a couple of good offers, we decided to book a place for one night so we could experience both sunset and sunrise in Ia. Let's talk a bit about the prices. Our round-trip flights for two from Athens cost us about 80 euros total, which is a bit less than 100 US dollars. And since it was still the off-season, we managed to find accommodation right in Ia for another 80 euros, which is a great deal for this place. There are several flights a day between Athens and Santorini, including low-cost airlines that offer really good prices in the off-season. So it's totally possible to fly in early in the morning, leave late in the evening, explore both Fira and Ia, and keep the whole trip around $100, all to see one of the most beautiful islands in Greece, and maybe even one of the most beautiful islands in the world. Our apartment was located on the edge of Ia, not outside it, but in a quieter area, right next to a pizzeria where we stopped for a delicious lunch before heading out to explore the town in the evening. Even though it was only April, there were already quite a lot of tourists. I can't imagine what it's like to move around here in peak season. But honestly, I totally get why there are so many tourists. The place is incredibly photogenic, and the sunsets here are just breathtaking. At sunset, the streets are even more crowded, with people lining up to take pictures. That's why staying overnight in Ia is a clever idea, because this way you get to experience the town in the peaceful early morning hours.
No, tomorrow will be kinder too. I'll climb each hill with dreams so bright and new. Nothing is lost and nothing comes too late. I'll greet the dawn beyond the open gate. If I should fall before the morning light, don't call it silence, don't call it the night. But what you bury where the roots run deep becomes the branches where the small birds sleep. I am the wood that hangs beneath the sky, a cradle swaying as the wind rolls by. And even now as evening finds its grace, I'm learning life will always have its place. The sun will rise and paint the world anew. Each step I take will guide me through the blue. No fear can shake the hope I hold inside. The open gate still stands with love so wide. I am the wood that hangs beneath the sky, a cradle swaying as the wind rolls by. And even now as evening finds its grace, a burning light will always have its place.
That's exactly what we did. We woke up early the next day to see Ia still quiet and sleepy. And what a pleasure it is to wake up to a peaceful, sunny morning on an island. The wind had come down, and we could enjoy a nice walk. Ia is an incredibly beautiful place. With its whitewashed houses, blue domes, and cobblestone streets winding along the black and red cliffs, it almost feels unreal. Today, those cliffs are dotted with luxury villas rented out to tourists. Most of them, I believe, aren't really homes anymore, but profitable businesses. It wasn't always like this, though. What are now stylish accommodations with modern interiors and private infinity pools were once simple cave houses, homes of poor ship crew members called iposkafa. At one point, we wandered down a street where a couple of older houses still remained, places that haven't yet been turned into rental villas. And even though the street looked a bit worn and neglected compared to the perfectly restored parts of Ia, it had a certain charm of its own. You'll also notice other types of houses here, neoclassical mansions with colorful facades and elegant details. As I read, these used to belong to ship captains. But one thing is hard to miss. Most of the houses on the island are white, and while it's undeniably beautiful, there is also a practical reason behind it. Many Greek islands struggled and still struggle with a lack of wood. The rocky landscapes of the Cycladic islands, including Santorini, simply don't support much dense vegetation. As a result, most homes were traditionally built from stone, mud, and volcanic materials, which gave them a naturally darker tone. The problem was that these darker materials absorbed heat from the sun, making houses extremely hot during the summer months. So locals had to come up with a clever solution to deal with it. They started painting their houses in light colors using whitewash, a simple mix of lime, water, and sea salt. White reflects sunlight instead of absorbing it, which helps keep homes cooler during the hot season. There is also another reason behind this look. In 1938, during a cholera outbreak, a law was actually passed requiring houses on the islands to be painted white with lime wash, since people believed it helped prevent disease. After wandering around up top and having breakfast at a cafe with an incredible view, we decided to head down to the harbor. It wasn't exactly an easy walk, especially the way back up, but it was absolutely worth it. The harbor turned out to be a really cozy and charming spot. On our way, we ran into the famous Santorini donkeys. We were planning to walk to the beach on the other side of the town, but after seeing the long line for the bus, we decided to head back to Fira a bit earlier than we initially planned. The bus line works on a first-come, first-served basis, and you buy your ticket as you board. Even in the off-season, there were a lot of people. We only managed to get on the second bus. As we were told, they run pretty frequently, around every 10 minutes or so. If you don't feel like waiting in line, you can always take a taxi. The driver told us 45 euros for a 10-minute ride, which seemed insanely expensive for such a short ride, so we refused. We spent the rest of the day in Fira. We spotted a place that served fresh pasta in paper bowls and decided to have lunch there. After the lunch, we walked through the streets of Fira once again. The vibe there was completely different. By then, the town was buzzing with the energy of a busy day. And it's really interesting. Seeing the same place early in the morning and later in the day feels like visiting two completely different places. Not feeling very enthusiastic about waiting in line for a bus, we decided to walk to the airport. The walk is about 5 kilometers, mostly downhill, though there isn't a sidewalk the whole way. But if you're traveling light and don't have luggage, it's actually a pretty pleasant walk as you get a glimpse of rural life of the island. We saw donkeys grazing in the fields along the road and vineyards with chickens roaming freely among the vines. By the end of the day, we were back in Athens, exhausted but really happy with the trip. We needed 2 days to recover after those 2 days of traveling. I'll be honest with you, fast-paced, packed trips like this are a lot harder at 35 than they were at 25. But they're still absolutely worth it. And Santorini is a gorgeous place. It's one of a kind. I cannot think about a better adjective to describe it than out of this world. Because when you're there, you feel as if you are not in this world anymore. It feels like you're somewhere far away from the rush of everyday life and its worries. And maybe that's exactly why people from all over the world come to it and are willing to pay so much money. To feel this serenity, to get close to something eternal, pure, almost unreal, and incredibly beautiful.